So let's cover one last topic before we start automating our routers and switches. Most Python tutorials use the interactive shell to teach you Python. In fact, that's what I've been using up to this point. But that's not how I develop and run my scripts. I write scripts using an editor, and I run my scripts from the command line. There's a saying in the Python community that scripts are read more than they are written, and it's why we strive to write readable code. But I'll add that scripts are run more than they are read, so it's important that I show you how to run your scripts. Let's create a simple script. I'm using the excellent open source editor Atom, available at atom.io. Let's create a new file and save this file and give it a name. Let's call this hello.py. I gave it the .py extension for two reasons. First, it tells me that this will be a Python script, so I can easily recognize what it is. And it also tells the editor software that this is a Python script, so the editor can assist me by performing syntax highlighting and offering me Python-specific help. As we stated in our discussion regarding Python version 2 and 3 compatibility, the first thing I want to do here is put in my future imports at the top. Next, we'll keep it simple by adding a simple print statement. Now let's go over to our Linux shell, which in my case is running the bash shell. And if I list the files in the directory, I can see the file is there. And I can run it by typing Python and giving it the file name. And I get the results I expected. I can specify Python 3 if I like to see if it runs there, and it does. Now what I would like to do is run this script without first typing Python. I want to simply type this file name and have it run my script without telling it to use Python to run it. So let's try that. And it tells me the command is not found. So essentially it couldn't find this file, even though it is sitting right here in this directory. And the reason for that is that Linux will only search for executable files in the folder specified in your path, which is defined as an environment variable, and my current directory is not listed in the path environment variable. So one thing I can do is use the // notation to tell Linux to find the file in the current directory. / is shorthand that tells Linux that this is the current directory. I can add my hello.py after the /. Now I get a different error. Permission denied. So if we look at the permissions for this file, it shows as read and write, but it's not executable. We have no X after the RW, we just have a minus sign. So we can fix that. We type change mode +X hello.py. Now let's list the files again. We see in fact that it is now executable. Now we should have permission to run this. And we get another error here. It's saying from can't read from our mail future. Okay, that's interesting. It looks like it's trying to run our Python statements as if they were Linux commands. That's because Linux is ignoring the extension. It doesn't care what extension you put on a file. It's just trying to run these statements as if they were a bunch of Linux commands, which they're not. They're Python commands. So we have to tell Linux how to run this program. Essentially, we have to tell Linux to start Python to run this file. We do that by adding another line right at the top of our file. The first thing here is called the shebang, which is short for hash bang, because this is a special magic sequence that Linux looks for when it executes a file. Since it starts with a hash mark, Python sees this as a comment and ignores it. And then here we tell Linux what program to use to run this file. And we're going to call this program called env for environment. And it tells Linux to use Python that is defined within the user's environment. So if I have my environment set to use Python 3 and another user on this same machine set their environment to use Python 2, then it will use the Python preferred by each user. So these will be the first couple of lines in every script we write from now on. I'm going to save this, And now we come back to our Linux shell and try running this. Great, now it works. One last thing I might want to do is run this without the /. And again, we get the command not found we saw earlier. There is a solution for that. I'm going to paste this in. This inserts the current directory into our path. It is setting our path equal to the output of the pwd command, plus the current value of the path. Pwd is present working directory, and by wrapping it in parentheses and a $sign, this tells Linux to run the command and then substitute the command output into this command. Essentially, this is going to prepend the present working directory to the path. Now if I run this command again, it works the way we expect. It's important to note that this is only temporary and affects only the current shell. If I open another shell or close this shell, it will no longer be accessible.